All right, folks, if it hasn't been coined already, I'm going to coin it now. Summer-GEDDON 2023 is headed our way. Now, what is that? ERCOT just forecasted that the electric supply is not going to be able to meet the electric demand this summer, which means brownouts, blackouts, and leaving you and your family in the dark, plus getting hammered by email saying, please conserve, please turn off your air conditioner. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. Well, find out what you can do and your family can do to stay protected this summer. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining the channel, but before we dive in, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to tap on that notification bell. That keeps you up to date with all the latest energy news that we produce here on the channel, and boy, are things changing day by day, it seems like. Of course, reach out to us if you just have some questions about solar, or if you're looking to go solar and you just want a fair deal. I want to hear from you, so give us a call, text message us, email us, or check out our website. We can't wait to hear from you, and we respond quickly. All right, so it was all over the news last week. ERCOT met as a commission, and they formally announced they forecast that there is going to be a shortage of electricity this summer. Now, why is that? If you've been watching this channel for long, you know I've been saying it for the last 2 years. The grid cannot keep up with the growing population of Texas. We have 2,000 to 3,000 people coming into this state per day. And we have a grid that is old that we're not able to keep up. We're not able to make the type of capital investments to reinforce and to get that grid up to where it could support that population. The grid is 50, 60, 100 years old in some parts of Texas, and it was built to sustain a population at that time. Not today's population, certainly not the population that we see growing year after year here. So this summer, we expect that there's not going to be enough electric supply to meet the demand here for Texas residents and business owners everywhere. Okay, so what does this news actually mean for you, a Texas business owner or homeowner? Well, that means that you can expect power outages this summer, rolling brownouts, which is where utilities selectively isolate and shut off certain customers from the grid in order to alleviate some of that pressure and some of that demand. Or you're going to be experiencing blackouts. That is just when the grid fails, when that high heat and that high temperature and that high humidity starts to stress the grid and the weaker parts of the grid just fail. Transformers blow up. The electric conductor just splits, or sometimes the poles fail, or some of the transmission components fail. All of these things are stressed during high heat, and on top of that, increased demand. So during high heat events, people are using their air conditioners more and more, which puts a high demand on that grid, and that grid is prone to break. So what you can expect is to be experiencing those blackouts or those brownouts, or at a minimum, you're going to be asked to conserve electricity. So what does that mean? That means when ERCOT actually reaches out to all Texas residents and business owners and just says, please conserve electricity. So do not turn your AC on, or keep your AC at a much higher temperature. Do not run major appliances during the day when the demand is high, because we can't provide enough electricity to meet the demand. We can't supply it, which means that the grid is going to fail. You're going to have to pick winners and losers if you're the utility, and you're going to have to cut off certain customers in order to feed other higher priority customers like hospitals or doctors' offices or fire stations or police departments. So that's what happens when we don't have enough capacity to meet the electric demand each summer. So what can you and your family do to protect yourselves? Well, what about just going solar? Well, there's a couple things I can say about that. Number one, going solar, just having solar and no backup power actually does help the grid, and here's why. When you are producing electricity through your solar system, you're actually consuming some of that on site, which means that as you're producing it during the day, you're also consuming it, which means that you're not demanding it from the grid, and that alleviates the pressure and the stress off the grid. Secondly, if your system's sized properly, you are exporting extra power back to the grid, which means that that grid that has a supply problem, too many people need too much electricity and we don't have enough generation sources to support that particular demand at that peak time during the day, you now then become a net exporter. So that extra electricity goes then back onto the grid, and then your neighbors and those around you can then consume that, and it really helps alleviate that supply and demand issue that we see during these high peak times. Now, if you want to be protected from a power outage, there's a few things you can do. Going solar in and of itself does not protect you from a power outage. Remember, if the grid goes down and you don't have some form of backup power like generators or batteries or some other form of backup power and generation, then your system as a safety feature shuts off, because we don't want that power then backfeeding onto the grid and then possibly injuring or killing someone that could be working on that grid to make those repairs to re-energize the system. But if you are looking for a backup power option, batteries are now more available than ever, and they're cheaper than ever. In fact, if you've been following this channel pretty long, you know that I have often been a fan of generators, opting for generators over a battery. But here's what I could tell you about generators. They run out of fuel, which means if you're running on a natural gas system or a propane system, you're not only having to pay for that fuel source because it's that natural gas or that propane, but there's a limited capacity of that supply, which means if you're on propane, you're limited to producing and running that generator up to the point to where you no longer have enough propane to feed that generator. In addition, you have to service it, so it requires oil changes, air filter changes, oil filter changes, and so there's these long-term maintenance things that have to do with the generator that add up and additional costs apply that may not have factored into you on that initial sticker price when you were comparing generator to batteries. Versus batteries, where batteries now provide you with that backup power, but it's rechargeable, it's renewable, which means when the sun goes up the next day, that fuel source returns and it's able to charge up those batteries. You don't have to worry about fueling it with natural gas. You don't have to worry about running out of propane, and you also don't have to worry about oil changes and oil filter changes and air filter changes. With batteries, they're super low maintenance. All you have to do is make sure that they're in an ideal spot for them to maintain their peak operating temperatures and make sure that they were installed correctly to begin with, which should be the responsibility of the installer that you went with. After that, it's set it and forget it. So for the first time, we see these new batteries coming on into the market. Do-it-yourself batteries. We also have other lesser known manufacturers coming into the space like HomeGrid and Fortress Power, which is going to really disrupt the market that's normally been an Enphase, Encharge, or a Tesla Powerwall, or even a Generac power cell market for the last several years. So these batteries are coming onto the market. They're cheaper. They have higher capacity, much longer lifespans that you can actually run the entire house for a longer period of time, and they're becoming a wonderful option for not only supporting your home during a power outage, but also supporting your home at night so that you're not having to rely on the grid at all. So with the battery systems coming online in the market, now is a great time to look into batteries. If you haven't looked into batteries in a while, or if you've been scared before because you've seen the price, reach out to us. I can tell you that battery prices are now more affordably priced than ever. There's still going to be an extra cost. It's not just like going solar, but generators are an extra cost. But for the first time, I'd say that generators are pretty much on par right now with the new batteries that have come into the market. So reach out to All Solar Texas. We're here for you. We're here to consult with you. We're here to let you know what's going to work, what's not going to work, and design a system that meets your energy goals. All right, folks, that about wraps it up for today. If you have any questions, or if you're looking to go solar, you just want to get ahead of this nightmare that is the summer of 2023 to come, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. Text message us, email us, check out our website. Thank you so much, and God bless.